So welcome again. Thank you everyone for coming. We are super excited to have you with us. We are looking forward to focusing on time management today. And I'm Jen Harris, glad to be back. I was out for 2 weeks up north, but super excited. I know Erica and Gracie did an awesome job with the workshops and connecting with everyone. And so we're excited to continue our Summer Institute. We literally have 2.5 weeks left. And so sad that it'll be over soon, but happy that folks have been enjoying it. So we're going to get into time management. We're going to focus on 9 specific techniques. Everyone will receive copies of the slides. So that way you'll have an opportunity to really look through the techniques and figure out what technique may be best for you. I also suggest trying a few techniques because there may be a technique that works best for a particular time for you. There may be a technique that works better than another one for you. And we also encourage you to share this with anyone that you may know that may be in need of it and want to work on improving their time management or developing a system that works for them. So let's talk about 9 types of time management techniques. So again, if you want to take note, or not again, but if you want to take notes, you can, but also everyone will receive copies of a copy of the PowerPoint. And actually, before we jump off, we can make sure we put them in the chat so then you get them as opposed to waiting until the end of the week for your follow-up email. So let's focus on the first one. This one, you may have heard it as the 80-20 rule or Pareto analysis. And so let me move my videos. So with this particular technique, the 80-20 rule is a technique that was created by an Italian economist. And so the idea of this is that 20% of your actions are responsible for 80% of your outcomes. And so the goal of this particular one is to help you prioritize tasks that are most effective at solving problems. So how it works is you would list some of the problems that you're facing. So if you're currently in school, I know there were a few folks on here that said that they were in school or they had recently graduated. So an example could be maybe your grades are slipping. You have a lot going on. Maybe you also work full time. You would list some of the problems that you're facing. Then you identify what the root cause of each of those problems are. And so you want to make sure you assign a score to each problem. And so you would assign higher numbers to more important problems. Then you'll group all of those problems together that are caused. So the example talks about grouping together all the problems that are caused by spending too much time on social media. Then what you do is add up the score of each group. And then what you're looking for is whatever group that has the highest score, group of problems that have the highest score, you would then work on those things first. So if it has a higher score, if it has been assigned a higher score, then you want to try and work on eliminating those problems and then take action, whatever that looks like for you. So if it's social media, it could be limiting the amount of time that you spend on social media or completely getting off of social media. Sometimes it's, hey, I need to step away from social media for a 30-day period, and then I can ease my way back into it, whatever the case may be. And so with this, the types of people who will benefit from the 80-20 rule would be problem solvers and analytical thinkers. So we have a picture that you can look at right here. So it would be, it breaks it down a little bit. And so hopefully this helps for you in terms of simplifying it and being able to see what it could look like visually. And as I mentioned, each of you will get these slides, so you'll have an opportunity to look at them and to really see which one is going to work best for you. So let's go to our next one, the Pomodoro technique. This particular technique was created by an entrepreneur and author. It uses a timer to break down your work into intervals. So as opposed to looking at it in its completeness or fullness, you would actually be breaking down that time into each interval. So how it works, you choose a task that you need to get done. You're going to set a timer for whatever amount of time you feel like you should set it for. So an example could be 25 minutes. You're going to focus specifically on that task, specifically on that thing. So you're not going to look to other things to do. The goal is to avoid distractions, things like that, but really focus on the task at hand. When the timer rings, you then take a break. But before that, you're going to put a check mark on a piece of paper. The break that you take should be a short break. So initially, as you start off, you're going to take about 3 to 5 minute break. So within that time, some suggestions could be going for a walk, grabbing a cup of coffee, doing something that's non-work related. So then that way you're giving your brain a break and you don't have to think about something heavy or process something that you need to do. Then you're going to repeat steps 2 through 5. So setting a timer, focusing on the task at hand. When the timer rings, put a check mark on a piece of paper and then take a short break. And then as you continue to move through that, you can begin to take longer breaks. So with this particular technique, folks that'll benefit are people who are creative thinkers, also those who feel burnout from work and school, work or school. You're breaking up your time into intervals, allowing you to be able to focus on a particular task, get it done, and then move on to the next thing. Sometimes a task may take more than the allotted time that you give, and that's perfectly fine. You still need to make sure you schedule those short breaks so that you give your brain a rest and then jump right back into it. So this is this is a graphic that shows, breaks it down in a very simple way. And so let's go to the next one. So we have the Eisenhower matrix. And so Dwight Eisenhower, before he became president, he was faced with difficult decisions while he was in the US Army. And so he invented what's now called the Eisenhower matrix. And so it's an urgent to important matrix. With this particular matrix or technique, what you're going to do is organize your task into 4 separate quadrants. So I'm going to show you a graphic shortly that shows 4 different squares. And so with this, you're going to sort them in order of importance versus unimportance and urgent versus non-urgent. This is one that I typically hear a lot of people talk about that they've seen when it comes to time management. Also, when it focuses on this one, urgent tasks are those that we feel need to get done immediately. When it comes to important tasks, those are tasks that contribute to your long-term goals or values. And so you want to make sure you focus on tasks that are in the top 2 quadrants. The other tasks you can either delegate or delete. Sometimes you may have time where you've gotten all of your top 2 tasks figured out, or the top 2 quadrants figured out, and you have some time to be able to work on some of those other things. There are some people who are like, well, this is still something important to me, but or something that I would like to work on, I want to get done. But just remember, it's not more important than those top 2 quadrants. So it's important that you realize what is urgent and what is important and needs to get done. So the types of people who will benefit from this are people in leadership positions and also critical thinkers. This is also a technique that you can use at home as well. Sometimes when we're at home, when we're at work, we may feel like we need to do it all. However, there are probably things that you do at home that you don't need to be the person that's doing it. Maybe someone else who's in your household can help around the house with those things and you can delegate them. Or maybe there are things that don't necessarily need to get done, so you could even delete them. And it's something that is off your plate and you no longer are thinking about it. So this is what the matrix looks like. We talked about urgent versus non-urgent, important versus not important. So there are going to be things in that top left corner that are going to be urgent and important. Those are things that you want to make sure you do. If it's important, but it's not urgent, then you can decide whether or not you want to do it. If it is urgent, but it's not important, then those are things that you want to delegate. And if it's not urgent and it's not important, then why are you even thinking about it? Delete it. So our next technique focuses on Parkinson's law. And so with this, a British historian, he became famous for the phrase, work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So in other words, the amount of time that you give yourself to complete a task is the amount of time it will take for you to complete that particular task. Now, I want you to also think about that in terms of, in relation to how you currently spend your time. Sometimes what I notice with myself is I don't allot as much time as I should have towards something because I'm like, oh, it'll only take me this much time to make this flyer. Not considering the fact that I'm very particular when it comes to how something looks or the lines or whatever it is, or if it has symmetry. And so I may start to create this flyer in this allotted time that I created, but then I start to think of other ideas and I don't factor that into how much time I've delegated to that particular assignment or that particular task. So definitely be mindful of that and make sure you're allotting enough time towards whatever it is if you choose to use Parkinson's law. And so with this, it talks about some of the tips that you can use with Parkinson's law. So you can try working without a computer charger. This is something that will force you to finish the project before your computer dies, because your thought process is, okay, I need to hurry up and get this done. So then that way I can, before my computer dies. And then another thing too, is it encourages you to get it done early. So instead of finishing something right before it's due, this encourages you to be able to get it done a lot sooner. This also encourages you to set a deadline. So it can give you, you can give yourself a set time to do something and then cut that particular thing in half. So if I say, okay, I'm going to get this report done by 3 p.m. today, what I could do is set a different goal to be able to cut that in half. And then, so that could be maybe 12 o'clock. I'm going to get this report done by 12 o'clock. And so I'm focusing on that particular thing. And I was able to cut in half the amount of time I allotted to myself to get it done. Also too, it can encourage you to limit time for tasks. So giving yourself only 20 minutes in the morning to answer emails, as opposed to like, okay, I'm going to spend an hour focusing on answering these emails because overnight I get 50 different emails from different things. And then the one thing I'll say with emails too, they can definitely be time wasters. And one of the reasons why I say that is because sometimes folks will feel like I have so many emails and I need to check them all and respond to everything. Think about the number of emails that you signed up for because you got on someone's list and then they started sending you all these emails, but they're really irrelevant to you now and you haven't unsubscribed, or it was because you wanted a free pizza somewhere, whatever the case may be. So be mindful of that when it comes to checking emails, because sometimes they aren't emails that we need to really check or look at. And so with this particular method, it provides an opportunity for you to efficiently work more efficiently in shorter bursts of time. And if you're a procrastinator, this can be something that is extremely helpful for you. And then also, if you work well under pressure, this could work well for you as well, with not having your computer charger or needing to speed things up. So there's another technique called time blocking. And so with this particular technique, time blocking can work for students, time blocking can work for parents or folks who consider themselves to be analytical thinkers. From the moment you wake up as a time blocker, you would assign time block to each day or in your day to each task. With this, it would include things like eating breakfast, or if you pray, showering, you're blocking time out for everything that you do. And so you want to, as you're looking at time blocking, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to where your time is going as well. Elon Musk has been seen as someone who does this really well. So how it would work is you divide a piece of paper into two columns. So on the left side, you're going to write down each hour of the day, and then you're going to create blocks of time such as half hour or hour chunks. I like to work in half hour chunks just because sometimes we have things like a meeting that starts at 10:30 and ends at 12. Or maybe you have something that is only 30 minutes. Whatever the case may be, working in those 30-minute blocks work really well for me. With this as well, you're going to estimate the amount of time that it takes to complete each of your tasks, and then you're going to fit them into those particular time blocks. You also want to add buffer times in between to allow for any adjustments that may come up, especially for those of you who tend to be bombarded with questions from people or people who need things from you. If your phone is always blowing up or emails always coming through, you want to allow time for that. Also, I know COVID is still happening, but schools are starting to open up. So if you work with students or anything like that, maybe there's travel time or things like that. So allowing that buffer time is going to be important for you so you can get to where you need to go as well. So this is what the time blocking method can look like. I know ADAP, the community prevention team, they do really well with having time blocking methods for their staff and being able to plan out the day and say, okay, this is where my time is going to go. And then there's another method called getting things done. And so this particular method, it helps you get things done by recording tasks on paper, and then you're able to break them down into actionable work items. So how do you do this? You capture the actions that have your attention. So these particular actions are tasks that can relate to anything from work to school, even to your personal life. With this, you want to clarify what they mean. So in doing that, you're deciding whether the tasks that have your attention are actionable or not. So if an item that you put on there is not actionable, then that's something that you can put to the side. You can ignore it for now. If the item is actionable, then you want to make sure you either do it, delegate it, or set it aside. And then you're going to organize those particular actions by prioritizing your list according to what you need to get done and by when. And then we'll spend some time reflecting, so you'll be able to review the list that you've come up with, and you want to make sure you review it frequently, so then that way you can determine what your next priority is. So what do I need to move to next? Then crossing off the tasks that you've accomplished and being able to update your list. So then that way, okay, I've already gotten these things done. What's next? How do I move forward? And then you're going to engage. So you're going to take the actions that you can complete right now. So that means those things that you can complete immediately. So then that way they are off your plate and you've gotten them done. So this one can be really well for people who struggle to focus on one thing at a time. Distractions happen, or people need you to put out fires, or whatever the case may be, right? But it can also be great for people who feel overwhelmed in their daily lives, and provide an opportunity for them to focus on something specific, to be able to prioritize and get those particular things done. So this is what this particular method can look like. And for people who like to make lists, this is something that'll really be good for you. One of the other things too is they say making lists can be really effective in regards to boosting people's moods, in regards to time management, because when you make a list and you start checking them off, it can be definitely a mood booster, and it can also help you feel accomplished. Like, wow, I really got some stuff done today. So if that's something that works for you, 100%, definitely try the getting things done method, because that can be extremely helpful. Next, we have the rapid planning method, which RPM, you may hear it as RPM, or you may hear rapid planning method, or result, purpose, and massive action plan. And so Tony Robbins developed this as a way to train your brain to focus on a vision of what you want so you can actually make it a reality. So how this works, you're going to capture it. You're going to write down all the tasks that you need to accomplish within the week. So it's not, you don't initially start focusing day by day, but you're looking at what does this week look like and what are all the things that I need to accomplish. Then you're going to do chunking. So when you chunk your tasks together, you're going to put them together by commonalities. So which items are personal, school related, career focused. My personal things are considered home. My job piece, or with BHS, I have it broken down into different categories just because there are a lot of things that are coalition heavy, but there are a lot of things that may focus on the administrative aspect or whatever the case may be, right? Then you're going to create your own RPM blocks. And so with this, you're going to get a new sheet of paper. You're going to make 3 different columns. With these columns, one column is going to be the task itself. The other is going to be the result that you want from completing the task. And then you're going to list the purpose for completing it. So you'll have the ability to have these 3 sections: task, the result, and purpose. And so you want to then list the actions that you can take in order to get there. So whatever the result is that you want, what's the purpose for doing it? And then how are you going to make sure you get there? And then you're going to create an empowering role for yourself. So you can create some sort of name that will encourage you or inspire you to move forward with this. Something that's going to get you excited about completing your goal and being able to hit those things. So people who will benefit from this, if you are a working student or parent, if you have long-term goals, this can be extremely helpful for you and something that you can use. So you see the graphic right here that has results. So what do you want to achieve? You have the purpose. Why do you want to do this? And then a map. So what will you do to achieve this? How will you be able to get it done? So we have 2 more theories before we wrap up. So the pickle jar theory, you may have heard it: mayonnaise jar, pickle jar, so many different jars. But with this particular theory, it helps you figure out what's useful and what's not useful in your daily life. And so there's a professor, which we're going to watch a short video, and the person narrating the video is going to talk about what this professor did. But the sand is going to represent those disrupting elements of your day, such as phone calls, text, emails, social media. The pebbles represent tasks that need to be completed, but can be done on another day or by someone else. And then the rocks, those are the most important tasks that need to get done today or that particular day. So you want to begin by thinking about how your task for the day would fit into each of those different categories. Is it a rock? Is it a pebble, or is it a sand? Then you have the ability to make a list that focuses on what are rocks, what are pebbles, what are sands, and then focus on getting those things done. You want to put an honest time estimate next to it. So I talked about this in regards to how much time do you really need to get something done. You want to make sure that you aren't planning for too much within your particular workday, because it allows for that buffer time, and then also an opportunity for you to complete some of those pebbles or sand. So if you're a visual person or a concrete thinker, this may be something that works extremely well for you. So let's watch this short video that focuses on the rocks, pebbles, sand story.
There's a well-known story about a university professor that wanted to make a point about the importance of prioritizing how we spend our time. The professor stood in front of his class with a display of items. He took a large, empty jar and filled it with rocks, approximately 2 inches in diameter. He then asked the class if the jar was full, and they agreed yes, the jar was full. The professor then took a box of pebbles and added them to the jar and gave it a little shake to move the pebbles into the open areas around the rocks. The professor asked the class again if the jar was full. They agreed. Yes, it is full this time. The professor then took a box of sand and added it to the jar, filling the spaces between the rocks and the pebbles. He asked again, now, is the jar full? They laughed and agreed, yes, it's full. This jar represents your life. The big rocks signify the really important things in your life, such as health, family, and friends. The pebbles are the other things that matter in your life, such as work or school. And the sand signifies the remaining small stuff, such as material possessions. Now, if you were to reverse the order of filling the jar and add the sand first, there would not be enough room for the rocks and the pebbles. The same principle applies to your life. If you spend too much time on the small stuff, you won't have enough space or time to focus on the things that are truly important, the big rocks. So, prioritize the big rocks first. Practice self-care, spend quality time with the people you love, and the rest is just pebbles and sand. They will always find some space.
Awesome. So yes, that is, oops, let's text out of here. That is the jar method. And so that can be something that's extremely helpful for you. I'd say figure out if that's something that really works for you. And I know they talked about family and friends and self-care, which is extremely important. You can also apply it to your work as well, or your career or school. And then the last technique is eat that frog techniques. So with this particular technique, it was named after Mark Twain. And we have a quote here: eat a live frog the first thing in the morning, and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day. So essentially, start your day by doing the most onerous task first, and then getting them out of the way. So whatever that tough thing is, whatever the thing that you most need to get done, just get it done. So how this works, you can get clear on a goal that you have. So what do you want to achieve most? Write it down, set a deadline, then compile a list of the things that you need to do to achieve that particular goal. You're then going to organize the list in order of priority. So the most important items are more than likely the difficult things. So those are your frogs. Then you're going to take action. So if you have more than one frog on your plate, you're going to eat the nastiest one first. So whatever the hardest thing is, you want to try and get that thing done immediately, as opposed to procrastinating or sitting on it. And then you're going to repeat the cycle every day so that you're always doing something that will push you towards your goal. This works really well for folks who are abstract thinkers or people who have long-term goals. And so it may not work as well for someone who's a procrastinator, but it's also a technique that you can try. And so we wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to give you all different techniques that will be able to help you in developing your time management, but finding something that works for you. I was going to say one more thing about that. When it comes to emails, something that can also help with time management is turning off your notifications. If you turn off your notifications, then you won't hear ding, 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 and you have an opportunity to really focus on whatever it is that you need to focus on. So with that, we're going to take any questions that anyone has while we put the poll up for everyone to complete. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute. If there is a particular thing that you are using right now, then 100% we'd love for you to share that or make note in the chat. Awesome. I see that folks are filling out the poll. Thank you very much. And hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully in getting the slides, it will be helpful as well. Let me take the slides and I'm going to drop them in the chat right now. And we'll send them as a PDF, but for you who are on right now, we're going to give you the slides as a PowerPoint. So then that way you have access to the video and before we edit it to just add the link. Awesome. So with that, we are done. Thank you all very much for joining us. The PowerPoint has been added to the chat and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.